Welcome to How to Make Coil Pots with Mrs. Hosbach. We will begin by creating the base, which must be like a pancake, but the same thickness across the entire piece. Next, we will carve our name into the bottom and gently tap out any rough areas. Now we're ready to begin squeezing and rolling our first coil. I always begin by squeezing the coil and beginning in my hands. After it starts to become a coil, then I transfer to the table and roll gently to create an even coil that's the same thickness across. This might take some practice, but once you have a nice even coil, lay it onto your base. If you have a large chunk of clay, it's easiest to break in half by twisting. Because my pot is still only one coil high, I can roll and add one more coil before blending. You can control the shape of your coil pot by how you lay your coil on top of the coil below. Now we're ready to begin probably the most important thing, blending the coils together so that they stay together once the clay starts to dry. You'll know you're doing a good job with this if you can't see any separation between the coils from the inside of your pot. Once the clay inside looks like one smooth surface, then you're ready to begin either adding details or adding more coils. Right now, I'm preparing 3 equal feet for the bottom of my pot so that my pot sets up a little higher. It's important that they're equal in size so that my pot isn't wobbly. In order for the feet to stay on, you must do a process called scratch to attach. This will create a strong bond between your feet and the bottom of your pot. I always like to gently mark out where I'm going to be attaching so that I don't forget as I'm working. As you can see, I'm using a fork to scratch the surface where the feet will go. And then next I will also scratch the pieces that will be attached as the feet. These little rough spots will act like fingers when I add the water, and they will grab onto each other and keep the clay connected after it starts to dry. Now that I have all the areas roughed up that need to be attached, I can use 2 to 3 fingertips of water in each area. This water will create a glue with the roughed areas of the clay, and when I wiggle and push it onto the clay's surface, they will grab onto each other, keeping the clay connected. Once I finish this, I like to pick up my pot and smooth it from the edges so that the excess rough spots can get smoothed away. Doing this also helps them stick a little bit better. At this point, my pot could be finished, but if I still have time, I have a few options. One option is adding decorative details to the outside or top edges of my pot. I'm creating this decorative detail with one of my texture stamps. Next, I will use the same method of scratching to attach to put it on the surface of my clay. Using the same method as I did when I attached the feet, I'm scratching both surfaces that need to be attached and then adding 2 to 3 fingerprints of water and then wiggling and pushing it on while supporting it from the inside. It's important to lay it on flat without trapping any air pockets. Finally, I can use a clay tool or my fingerprint to get rid of any excess rough spots. Because our maximum size is 6 inches tall and 6 inches wide, if I still have time, I can continue adding coils and building my coil pot taller. Make sure to smooth and blend the coils together from the inside every time you add a new coil. We shouldn't be able to see any cracks, holes, or separations from the inside. Shorter coils can be created and used to fill in gaps to make the top of your pot even across, if you wish. Spend your last few minutes smoothing out any cracks with 1 fingerprint of water if needed, and blending out any rough areas to make sure that your pot is as smooth as it possibly can be. Your final step is just checking the bottom to make sure that you can still read your name.